Hello everyone and welcome to Sunburned. Albino ranks the 3 worst Pokemon of each type. The criteria is going to be all over the place, from design to stats to fame, and just any biased reasoning I can possibly think of. I'm not counting babies in this list, because I think almost every single one of them is garbage, so I wouldn't want half the entries to just be all the baby Pokemon. And for the record, the only exceptions to that rule are Pichu and Wynot. Those ones are cute. Pokemon can only show up once in the list, so like if I hated a fire-flying type, I couldn't put the same Pokemon in both fire and flying. Also, I'm not going to consider forms as a thing, because I don't want to think about these new legendaries and stuff that are all 5 Pokemon each, or Megas because that's temporary, but we are doing regional variants because that's separate enough. Otherwise, we got 18 types to do out here, starting from normal and working our way to whatever the last one ends up being. Normal number 3, aka the least worst of the still worst, Ditto. Ditto is just every other Pokemon, which makes it redundant. In the show, it's funny that a transformed Ditto still has those telltale eyes, but this is mostly going to be about the games because I've only seen like half the shows. Originally, Ditto was just a worse version of whatever it copied. You sent him out, he had to use up a turn to transform, which gave your opponent the advantage, but then later they gave him the imposter ability to transform right away, and he got some other buffs too to make him usable, but it's not really about use, it's just the fact that Ditto is a blob of malleable goo, and as a Pokemon, it's not that exciting. Normal number 2, Purugly. I am definitely an aesthetics guy. I like a Pokemon that looks good, not in a ooh, let me have some of that way, but like a ooh, this is a cool design, I like the colors or the symbolism or the concept. That said, I can also get behind a goofy or wacky creature here and there, but Purugly is just a fat, ugly cat. You can extrapolate whatever you want out of that, but your eyeballs are still going to be looking at its hulking, off-putting frame. It's not funny or silly, it's just ugly and fat. This is a fat, fucking ugly-ass cat, dude. You look at it from the front and it's fat, you look at it from the side and it's fat. Look at the white part of its body. It's got a built-in t-shirt to wear in the pool. Have some confidence in yourself, man. Just because I'm talking shit doesn't mean you shouldn't live your best goddamn life. Normal number 1, Stantler. I have publicly hated Stantler for almost a decade now, and nothing has happened to change my mind. This is the single ugliest Pokemon in existence. Turning him into Santa Claus in the Hisui region does not change that. To get off of looks for a bit, before we dive right the hell back in, Stantler was designed to be like the most annoying wild encounter of all time. It has Intimidate, which means half your team is nerfed from the outset. It shows up early on the way to Ekritique City and is a fast and no evolution Pokemon, which means it's stronger from the outset than any of your base form dudes, and that means multiple things. A, it's going to prevent you from running away by being too fast. B, it's going to beat you more often than not if you get stuck battling it because of all the debilitating shit it does. Intimidate, as I mentioned, if you're doing the Gold and Silver remakes, but also flinch hacks with Stomp because it's fast, Hypnosis because it's a coward, and Confuse Ray because it's a bitch. You need good RNG to survive. I could be mistaken, but if I recall correctly, there's not a single trainer in the Johto region that uses this Pokemon. They all find it just as repulsive as I do. Gold and Silver, and by extension their remakes, are some of my favorite Pokemon games of all time, and one of the only sour spots about them is having to be reminded of Stantler's existence. The only thing I like about it are the antlers. That's the one positive thing I'll give Stantler. It has cool antlers, so somebody should rip them off and surgically attach them to a better Pokemon that doesn't have a BBL. What the hell is that ass? Why is its tail just a big brown ball shoved between its cheeks? Combine that with a weird shit-eating cleft palate in its nose and mouth area, you have one of Arceus' failed experiments. Fire number 3, Heatmore. This Pokemon just does not matter. It's not particularly strong, it doesn't evolve, it shows up at Victory Road in black and white, so it's not like you're gonna make room for it on your team, it's just there. It's got these gross Bane tubes hooked up to it despite being 4 feet tall, and it looks like it just escaped from Arkham Asylum's midget division. Fire number 2, Emboar. This is like the Hangover Part 3. You did firefighting, and it was great, and then you did firefighting again, and it was not as great, but still justifiably okay, and then you did this. Legitimately, how could they do 3 firefighting starters in a row? Were there really that many fires that needed to be put out? This MFer's out here causing them. I don't want Emboar on my team, I want him roasting himself on a spit and turning into spicy pepper bacon. Fire number 1, Simisear. We already had a fire monkey, and the very next gen they decided we needed a much worse, pointless other fire monkey. It's got worse stats, it's uglier, they only made it to be the first gym's gimmick of deciding which monkey to use based on your starter. It just inspires no positive feelings whatsoever. Water honorable mention, Pyukumuku. Some of these will have honorable mentions, because there's over 170 water types in Pokemon, and there's a lot more bottom-tier garbage ones than just 3. Pyukumuku at least has the distinction of being somewhat entertaining as a concept. It's living oceanic debris that people pick up and throw back into the sea because it's a nuisance, and if you step on it, it punches you with its liver and kidneys. Like, what the fuck? Other than that, it's basically a worse Shuckle with the lowest base speed possible to boot, and it looks like a turd wrapped in needles. Water number 3, Alomomola. I've always viewed this Pokemon as just a bigger love disc. It should honestly evolve from it. I'm not terribly familiar with stall archetypes because it's not how I like to play the game, but looking at this thing's stats in relation to its moveset feels like they didn't even get that right. It's got 75 base attack, but other than Aqua Jet, all the water moves it learns, Water Pulse, Brine, Whirlpool, and Hydro Pump are special, and its special attack's only like 40. Like, swap those? I know it's not supposed to be a heavy hitter with its massive HP, but if you're going to make one of the offensive stats almost twice as high as the other, it should at least be the right one. But even if you bin all that, I just think it's a big, ugly pink fish, and the only cool thing about it is that its name is a palindrome like Girafarig. Water number 2, Corsola. Gen 2, despite being party to some of the best Pokemon games ever, also introduced some of the most useless Pokemon, and Corsola is way up there. It's so ineffectual, I didn't even know it was introduced in Gen 2. I thought that shit made its debut in Pacific Logtown in the Hoenn region. Granted, I don't do a lot of fishing in Pokemon games. Also, apparently it doesn't show up in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Even the remakes forgot about this dude. It's not tanky enough to be tanky, it's not strong enough to do damage, it doesn't evolve, and it sucks shit. Water number 1, Love Disc. Had to bring this thing up again. What is the point? Love Disc can't do anything. There are Pokemon that can't do anything that I still like Delibird or Spinda, whose uselessness is offset by their appeal, but where is the appeal here? It's just a living Valentine's Day card. People trade them to each other to show their affection when they should be a symbol of divorce, which is what I would do if I had a wife who gave me that bullshit. The Sun Pokedex says that if Love Disc is left alone, it becomes depressed and vulnerable, and that's when Pelipper eats them. So you're doing a public service to the world if you insult and throw things at every Love Disc you pass by on the beach. Let's see how much love you can spread in a Pelipper's bowels. Grass honorable mention, Shiinotic. This is just if Hypno was a fungus. It puts people to sleep and sucks them off, energy-wise. Another tank that's not tanky enough, to say nothing of its 5 weaknesses, including a times 4x to poison. And its face looks like it was designed by the people who made Forky in Toy Story 4. Tell me that's not a plastic spoon that's been left to rot. Grass number 3, Wormadam. I know we said no forms, but there is no base form Wormadam, and I think of the Plant Cloak as its default anyway. Aside from generally sucking, Quiver Dance is a move Wormadam learns upon evolution and is completely wasted on it with its 36 base speed, who's going to give you 3 turns to still get outsped by most of the faster Pokemon while you're still too weak to one-shot anything. Another useless thing about it is the Anticipation ability, which senses dangerous moves. Like, bitch, you're a bug grass type. Every move is dangerous. 6 weaknesses, 2 of which are 4x. You might say battling isn't everything, and you're right, but like, who's out here simping for the Bagworm Pokemon? It's a creepy crawly in a cloak, and technically so is Excelgor, but Excelgor has the benefit of looking sick as hell, while Wormadam can't even compete with Mothim in its own evolutionary family. Grass number 2, Sunkern. It's a shame because Sunkern is a really cute Pokemon, but it too suffers the Gen 2 curse of being trash. It has the lowest base stat total in the entire franchise, with the exception of untransformed Wishy-Washy, but that doesn't really count since that can at least start out being insane. And then I guess Sunkern is tied with Blipbug now because they wanted to give it a break after 6 straight generations of being the worst Pokemon imaginable and have some company. Grass number 1, Amoonguss. Its name is Amoonguss. Is that not reason enough? Add to it the fact that it's not even an original concept. We already have Pokemon that mimic Pokeballs. This should not be a growing theme. The White Dex even says they show off their Pokeball caps to lure prey, but very few Pokemon are fooled by this. It's a garbage hunter. This species should be extinct from ineptitude. Why would that even work in theory? What wild Pokemon sees a Pokeball and is like, let me be caught by this, please? That's like if I tried to catch a fish by jumping in the water dressed like a shark. Terrible everything. Worst grass Pokemon. Electric honorable mention, Regieleki. This has to be one of the most inelegant compound names I've ever seen Pokemon try to pull. The rock is Regirock, the steel is Registeel, the electric is Regieleki. Even Regice and Regidraco are better than that. Regice bucks the pronunciation trend, but you get the whole word in there, and Draco is a common shortage of something dragon-related that the franchise has already used, like in Draco Meteor. Then you have Regigigas, which is objectively the most fun one to say. Aleki is just a letter off of Elekid, and is otherwise some made-up nonsense. You couldn't do Regizap, or Regishock, or Regibolt, or Regispark. Like, what are we doing out here? I also resent the fact that this dancing abomination can come out of nowhere in a DLC and just be the fastest Pokemon in the franchise now. It's faster than Electrode, it's faster than Ninjask, it's faster than Deoxys S, the form literally named after speed. Like, where do you get off, dude? Electric number 3 is Zeraora. I will always pronounce it like that. This is a fake electric Pokemon for many reasons. One, I don't respect mythicals beyond, like, Gen 5. I just started not caring about them at all when we peaked with Victini. Two, it doesn't even generate its own electricity. It has to harness it from other sources like a powerless leech. You ain't Raikou, okay? Thundercat, you ain't even Lion-O, let's be real. The reason you're genderless is because you have no balls, okay? Which is too bad, because then at least you could create something. Electric number 2, Pachirisu. Every gen gotta have its electric rodent. Some are better than others, and some are Pachirisu. This Pokemon is a meme competitively from what I've heard, but the main reason not to take it seriously is because it's a waste of a Pokedex slot. Kinda slow for an electric type, not tanky enough, and no offensive capability to speak of. If Pachirisu shows up in your Diamond and Pearl game, you don't cheer, you boo. Boo, Pachirisu. Emolga can fly and you can't, grounded ass bitch. Electric number 1, Plusle and Minun. We got a twofer. These Pokemon should be like Tandemaus and be the same Pokemon and combine their strengths. Make that an Evo later and you'll have a neater synergy, because the one they shipped with is pointless. Back in the Gen 3 days, Plusle and Minun were the only Pokemon who had the plus and minus abilities respectively, which power them up if the other ally with the opposite ability is also on the field. Several problems arose from this though, chief of which being they still sucked, and who's gonna toss out both Plusle and Minun in a double battle that isn't a Pokefan in PC? Pokemon loves to introduce a gimmick that isn't good until they fix it multiple gens later, if they ever fix it at all. Like it took until Gen 5, with the introduction of hidden abilities, that a few more Pokemon got plus and minus. Not that you could easily access hidden abilities back then, and it still sucks, but hey, even with their boosts active, Plusle and Minun have the same speed as Pachirisu and just aren't strong enough to be threatening. But if you're gonna pick one, it should be Plusle for that extra 10 base special attack, even though I think Minun is cuter. Ice number 3, Hisuian Avalugg. Someone looked at Avalugg and said, what if we give it 2 more weaknesses and some 4Xs for good measure? Stat-wise, it beats regular Avalugg a little bit by adding more attack and speed in exchange for a little special defense, and its new Strong Jaw ability gives its Ice Fang a base power of 100 plus stab. But even though these types of Pokemon usually just come out to get one-shotted by the wrong matchup, I just think there was no need to make this variant. Adding Rock to Ice instead of making a Fire type and calling it Lavalugg, they airballed a slam dunk! My favorite Pokemon of all time is an Ice-Rock type, and we don't need more representatives reminding people what an ass-type combo that is. Ice number 2, Arcto whatever. Every variation of this weird jigsaw creature should never have made it past the idea phase. This goes for Arctovish, Arctozolt, and everything else in any other category. It just looks cobbled together, which is the point, but that doesn't mean it's a good point. Some fossils should stay buried. Ice number 1, Ice-Q. Did we even try with this one? These people made Empoleon, and now this is what penguins are reduced to in the Pokemon world. Another gimmick copycat taking Mimikyu's ability and making it worse and lame. When its Ice Face breaks, its speed jumps up to 130, but it's still weak, so the best it can do is run really fast to your PC box where it should stay indefinitely. Fighting number 3, Hitmontop. My most vivid memories of Hitmontop are fighting Brunos in Pokemon Gold and Silver, which inexplicably has the worst moveset you've ever seen in your life. It knows Quick Attack, Detect, Dig, and Pursuit. It learns Rolling Kick upon evolution, no matter what level, and Bruno was like, nah, keep Pursuit, as if anyone would switch out in fear of this mongoloid moveset. The Gold Pokedex says, if you become enchanted by its smooth, elegant dance-like kicks, you may get drilled hard. Those must have been the same people who wrote the Typhlosion lore. I just don't like the way it spins around upside down, but it also looks stupid if it's standing up, so there's no winning with this one. Fighting number 2, Flamigo. They could have done literally anything to make this not look like a regular-ass Flamingo. Battle-wise, it's totally fine. You won't be disappointed if you have Flamigo on your team going through Scarlet and Violet, but as a follow-up to Hawlucha, I feel like it utterly fails to be anywhere near as cool or unique. Fighting Flying is a really cool type combination, and Flamigo doesn't deserve it. Fighting number 1, Paldean Tauros. It's not that a new Tauros is bad, but why is it fighting type, and why are there different variations that have random other elements like fire and water where the differences are too understated to even matter? We got 3 Tauros, a fighting fire one, a fighting water one, and a regular fighting one where it's like, okay, why would you pick the regular one? Dual type supremacy out here. The fire and water breeds don't even learn moves of their extra types by level up, besides Raging Bull, which changes its type depending on which breed learned it, and it has the same moveset as Gen 1 Tauros, which means they're all normal type and get no stab stab anyway. Your Tauros gets a grand total of 1 stab move in its entire kit. Do TMs fix this? Obviously. But why is it trash to begin with? Why is Fire Tauros not learning Flame Charge early on, or Water Tauros Aqua Jet? If you're going to train one of these things in the context of a PvE game experience, it's going to be annoying. But beyond that, I just think the whole thing's dumb, with the breeding and the multiple dudes. Poison honorable mention, Quillfish. Initially, if we're talking back when Quillfish debuted, I don't understand the point of releasing Pokemon that don't evolve, that also aren't any good. Gen 2 put out a lot of gimmick Pokemon. Delibird, Unknown, Smeargle, Shuckle, Wobbuffet, 8 different babies, and almost all of them are unusable. Then you've got Pokemon that aren't really gimmicks, they just don't evolve and suck ass, like Dunsparce at the time, Misdreavus at the time, Gligar at the time, Sneasel at the time, Apom at the time, Corsola, Mantine, and Quillfish. God damn, dude. So much of Gen 4 was just about fixing Gen 2, huh? I know you can't make every Pokemon a powerhouse, but they should at least be able to do something, which Quillfish can't until later when they introduce Toxic Spikes, Swift Swim, and Rain Team synergy. But no amount of synergy is going to make me like this Pokemon anyway, because even if it's not pointless, it's still just ugly. Poison number 3, Alolan Muck. It is ironic the way they choose to make Muck Dark-type by giving him a lot more bright colors, disgusting colors at that. It's not like Sludge was that appealing to begin with, so to have moved downwards in this regard is truly impressive. I'm a mild Muck enjoyer. I think he's underrated in Gen 3 and prior in particular, with Poison being a physical type and him having decent attack to make use of Sludge Bomb plus his general bulk. Muck is a solid liquidy choice for a team and a fair recipient of a regional form, but this form is eh. Poison Dark is fine. Pretty terrific, actually. One of the best combos defensively. I just wish they made him look, I don't know, cooler? Like, get this piss yellow and vomit green and random blue out of here. Replace it with black, straight up. Adjust the stripes, make him a black sludge worthy of the held item. Poison number 2, Swalot. Just garbage, which is funny considering some of the Pokemon I could have put here instead. But even anthropomorphized trash is better than the useless sack of shit Swalot is. Worse than Muck in just about every way. It also had the displeasure of introducing the Stockpile Swallow Spit-Up gimmick to Gen 3, which is quite possibly the most useless and cumbersome thing ever created. Don't forget that in Gen 3, Stockpile didn't even raise defenses. You had to waste 2 of your turns to get even a mild return on investment with Spit-Up, and 200 base physical, normal type of damage on a poison type with 73 base attack is not worth a damn. And imagine teaching Swallow to Swalot instead of, like, Gardevoir. Like, what are we doing out here? You're gonna teach the ugliest thing on the planet how to swallow when Lopunny's right there? While Vaporeon's? Okay, that's too far. We're not that degenerate. But yeah, nowadays Stockpile can at least tank, but it's still better by itself, ditching 2/3 of the gimmick, and I consider this Pokemon ground zero of that dog shit. Yeah, Pelipper also learned that stuff, but Swalot, come on, it's in the name. Poison number 1, Grafaiai. It's hard to come up with a Pokemon that is symbolically nastier than a pile of sewage, but Game Freak routinely surprises with its commitment to churning out sickening abominations. Grafaiai slobbers toxic saliva on its middle fingers and then uses them to slash at people, while also looking like that. Your habits earned you that ugliness. This is a foul creature that does foul things. Ground number 3, Marowak. Marowak is the evolved form of a Cubone that has overcome its sadness at the loss of its mother and grown tough. That's the Ruby Dex entry. Meanwhile, Silver's Dex entry for Cubone says that it always wears the skull of its dead mother. I'm trying to rationalize the timeline here. Does Cubone hatch from its egg and then Marowak immediately goes on maternity leave to the afterlife and leaves behind its skull for the Cubone to wear? Like, every Cubone is born and then its mother's just dead. It was easier to comprehend when it was just the original Red and Blue storyline of like, oh, there's one Cubone whose mom died to Team Rocket, and she's the Marowak ghost of Lavender Tower. Like, okay, there's some individual lore, but then you have to contend with the fact that there's more than one Cubone in all of existence, so why are all of their moms dying out? And actually, later on, Ultra Sun's Marowak Dex entry just muddles the waters even further, trying to explain it. It says, it throws bones at Mandibuzz to knock it down. It's thought that Marowak is trying to avenge its parent. So Mandibuzz killed all the mothers now? That'd be quite a feat for a species that's never been in Kanto before. One guy brings a Mandibuzz from Pokemon Home into his Let's Go Pikachu game and destroys the ecosystem. Anyway, it's not really the undecided lore that makes this Pokemon the 3rd worst ground type for me, it's just ass. So much arguing and theory crafting for what? Maybe the reason all the Cubone mothers are dead is because they're bad at battling. Ground number 2, Stunfisk. I think it's funny that they made electric types unable to be paralyzed, but they have yet to update this Pokemon so it no longer has Limber, an ability that prevents it from being paralyzed paralyzed. For the record, I strongly disagree with this change. Like, electric-type paralysis, sure. Maybe electrics can't get thunder waved anymore. That's fine. But glare, stun spore, moves like that have nothing to do with electricity, so they should still paralyze electric types, and I will die on this hill. Anyway, Stunfisk being a living trap is kind of neat, but they should have given it a unique move to actually embody that. Galarian Stunfisk looks like an even deadlier trap, and they still didn't give it anything to be like, uh-oh, you shouldn't have stepped on this Pokemon. Feels like a waste to not explore the gimmick. Ground number 1, Diggersby. My man has 56 base attack. That is the same as Rattata. I hate a Pokemon that is completely unusable without its hidden ability. Diggersby's is huge power, which obviously doubles his attack and makes him somewhat strong. But it's a crutch that I wish Pokemon would just do away with. Scrap every instance of huge power or pure power and just give the Pokemon that attack stat by default. It's stupid. It's even stupider that some Pokemon get this as one of their normal abilities, while some have it locked as a hidden one. If you're playing X and Y and you encounter a wild Bunnelby, it's just not gonna have huge power, and it's gonna be pathetic, and it's just sad. Side note, regular Mawile deserves huge power, just saying. Flying honorable mention, Bombardier. I actually like the idea of a pseudo-triple type Pokemon like Delmise, where the Pokemon is dual type but has a third type affinity it can get stabbed from and make use of. But I don't like, again, locking it behind a hidden ability when it's the core identity of the goddamn Pokemon. Delmise's Steelworker is the only ability it can have, and that's good, so you'll never get a Delmise that's less flexible for no reason. Meanwhile, Bombardier is out here polluted with garden variety trash bird abilities like Big Pecs and Keen Eye, abilities every fucking bird has, when Rocky Payload is the quintessential must-have. Bombardier has fun lore. I like the idea of a dark bird that just drops shit out of the sky for fun and is a huge environmental hazard to anyone walking near one, and I don't hate its stats, but even though hidden abilities are easier to access now, it still begs the question of why present a worse alternative when it makes this Pokemon's reason for existing go out the window. Flying number 3, Noctowl. I actually forgot they buffed this Pokemon a little in Gen 7, giving it 10 more base special attack to be 86 instead of 76, but this effect will not be felt in any game you'd ever even think about using Noctowl in. It'll still be Garbo in Gold and Silver, it'll still be Garbo in Pokemon Coliseum. Personally, I think this should be another pseudo-triple type with an ability that boosts psychic attacks because it learns so many of them and gives off that vibe, you know? Give that to Psyduck and Golduck too, for what it's worth. But yeah, Noctowl is just one of the worst birds. Flying number 2, Mantine. Another later buffed Pokemon. They boosted this thing's HP by 20, but I can't imagine the usage rate increased drastically. Why does it get Bullet Seed as a level 1 move? Has it ever gotten it out of a jam? Anyone ever been at the Elite Four? Like, thank God my 40 base attack Mantine knew Bullet Seed here, or I would have been doomed. Mantine's whole thing is that it has a lot of special defense. Back in Gen 2, I guess it would be considered the counterpart to Skarmory, but when they were looking for Pokemon to hand babies to in Gen 4, Mantine got the call and Skarmory didn't. This thing's as fast as Decidueye, by the way. I'm just always mad about how slow Decidueye is, don't mind me. Mantine has just always existed on the fringe of my experience. Never cared to catch one, never piqued my curiosity, only ever one-shot it with a Thunderbolt. Flying number 1, Squawkabilly. There's no way they thought we needed 4 of these. At least the Oricorio were different types. This is just different colors and guts versus sheer force. There's something to be said about Hustle plus Aerial Ace as an interesting combo, though you wish the move that never missed had more base power to take advantage of, like Aura Sphere or something. But this is a glass cannon build that with 92 speed isn't fast enough. Squawkabilly's getting outsped and one-shot all day, but maybe that's just the best way to cull their numbers so we have less of them. Bring back Chatot. Also buff Chatot. Psychic honorable mention, Mr. Mime. Imagine being the only male-coded Pokemon to be retroactively given the Fairy type, the number 1 Pokemon to not leave with your children unsupervised, or supervised for that matter. Half of all Mr. Mime are female, so words don't really mean anything anymore. People have been making fun of Mr. Mime since the 90s, calling him the pedophile Pokemon, and since Ash grew up in a house with one, you can only imagine the horrors he's been subjected to. No wonder he went to like every other region. He wanted as far away from that home as possible. Mr. Mime is a decent battler though, and I wouldn't be opposed to them giving his normal form an evolution like Mr. Rhyme. Psychic number 3, Hypno. Back in Gen 1, when Special Attack and Special Defense were combined into just one special stat, Hypno was actually low-key busted, because its special stat was 115, which made it powerful and a tank, and it was one of the only Psychic Pokemon to learn the move Psychic on level up, and pretty early at level 37, so the fall-off has been spectacular. Once Special Attack got introduced, Hypno's dropped all the way down to 73 and made its creepy design less overlookable. Its whole gimmick is the Hypnosis/Dream Eater thing, which is funny because he doesn't learn Dream Eater Alligator normally. Like, that's his whole deal, and they just didn't give it to him. You have to teach Hypno, the Pokemon most famous for eating dreams, how to eat dreams, by getting the TM from a fat guy who was sleeping in the forest like an idiot. That's like if Hitmonlee never learned how to kick by itself. It would just be tackling people, and you'd be like, what the hell are those stretchy-ass legs for? Psychic number 2, Oranguru. I will grant Oranguru the uniqueness of its double battle shenanigans and how if it has telepathy and uses Instruct on its turns, you can basically just have your teammate use Surf or Earthquake twice in one turn without Oranguru getting damaged. But as someone who doesn't do competitive and rarely does Battle Tower stuff, this does not really come up in the PvE side of Pokemon, and I mostly don't like Oranguru because I think there are too many monkeys. I'm like the Frieza of Pokemon. I don't like monkeys. There's 26 of them or something, and every time they make a new one, I'm like, we didn't need that one. Ambipom was the last good monkey, then Gen 5 introduced 6 trash monkeys and ruined the whole thing. Psychic number 1, Indeedee. Female Indeedee just looks like Audino with a dump truck. It's less about utility here because there are certainly worse psychics. It doesn't have horrible stats, and male Indeedee is the one I'd use because it's faster and stronger. But like I mentioned before, I don't like Pokemon that don't evolve, that aren't cool or do anything interesting. Psychic Surge is a neat hidden ability if you're running like a mono psychic team for some reason, or if you just hate getting sucker punched that badly, but its design is so bland, it's kind of just Meowstic again, but Meowstic was cuter. Bug number 3, Volbeat/Illumise. Bug's whole thing is that they evolve young. I mean, they've kind of thrown that out the window before, but having a bug that doesn't evolve is inherently not as cool. With other bugs that don't evolve, they balance this by making them strong, like Pinsir or Heracross, but Volbeat's special attack is 47, which is a bit less than Pidgeotto. Now, Volbeat's gimmick is that it can learn Tail Glow, a move introduced by it that raises special attack by 3 stages, the first move to raise anything by 3 stages, I believe. So if he gets the opportunity to use Tail Glow, his special attack becomes somewhat good. Really, you need a second one if you want to start sweeping, and good luck sweeping with a Pokemon that isn't fast enough and is so frail they had to buff his defenses after Gen 6, and his primary type was physical in Gen 3, so you're not even getting the Tail Glow buff on Signal Beam, and you're getting no stab on anything that is affected by it. Hilariously, this Pokemon does not learn a single move that Tail Glow does affect by leveling up. All his moves are physical, and garbage besides. But if you have the TMs to waste, you could teach him Thunderbolt and Giga Drain and act like you did something. Basically, they introduced a theoretically broken move and then gave it to a Pokemon that can barely even use it. It's just wasted effort, but at least Volbeat has an outside shot at doing something because its counterpart Illumise can't even learn Tail Glow. They gave it 73 special attack to compensate, but as you may assume, that does not in fact compensate. Thus, you can argue that Illumise is actually worse, especially when it also only learns physical moves that its higher special attack can't even work with. Obviously, some of these issues get fixed, yeah, that's it, fixed later on, but who's out here right now using horrible Gen 3 Pokemon that have always been straight dookie? Oh, Illumise gets Bug Buzz now, so does Excelgor, and that Pokemon is 10 million times cooler. Bug number 2, Spidops. They could have made this dude so much cooler. He's basically if Snake from Metal Gear was a Pokemon, and the trap-based gameplay is inspired, but they made him look stupid and they made him too weak. For a Pokemon who lays in wait for the proper chance to strike, he's not bulky enough, with only semi-decent defenses and poor HP, and his attacks are weighed down by a middling stat in that department too. Stakeout is a super cool ability, doing double damage to foes who just switched in, but nobody's afraid of Spidops, and so it's not that important for someone to swap out of battle against one, and if a trainer is choosing a new Pokemon to replace a fainted one, it's probably going to be something that will easily outspeed and one-shot a Spidops. It can get Sucker Punch as an egg move, which is pretty nice, but that probably won't kill something it's not super effective against. As a Sticky Web user, it has some undeniable utility, but all of this is just a distraction from the fact that Spidops looks dumb as hell when it really shouldn't have. And again, hidden abilities are annoying when they define the Pokemon, although Mabostiff also gets Stakeout in the same generation and is a way better Pokemon, so Spidops gets overshadowed instantly anyway. Bug number 1, Ladian. I just don't know what the hell they were cooking here, and they don't even care enough to buff it. They buffed Volbeat and Illumise, but not Ladian, who is somehow so much worse, it's insane. It's a Gen 2 Pokemon, so that tracks. What is the point of this creature? It has no offensive capability to speak of, it has good special defense but no HP, and the most notable thing it does is learn Light Screen and Reflect. For who? Itself? Yeah, let me have the damage from opposing Pokemon so I can sit there and do nothing back to them. Double battles didn't even exist back then, so it sure wasn't for that. It's a Baton Pass user, but the only stat boosting move it could get was Agility, If you wanted to be an absolute cheeselord, you could teach it Toxic and Protect along with the screens, but a physical attacker will still demolish it. I don't like to factor TMs too much into the judging because I think the level up moves are the core of Game Freak's philosophy of what the Pokemon is supposed to be and do, and apparently Ladian is meant to sit there and die. Nowadays you can give it stuff like Tailwind and Baton Pass Swords Dance, but why do that when you could just use a different Pokemon? Now we're on to rock number 3, Onix. The vibes of Onix are immaculate, don't get mad. An imposing giant rock snake is conceptually very cool. What ruins it is that the giant rock snake hits like a tiny rat, and I mean that quite literally. 45 base attack, even before it had an evolution, that is weaker than Rattata by over 10 points. In a damage dealing competition with a Pidgey, Onix would tie. It would tie. How is that okay? Bro is flinging giant boulders at people and they're like, ow, that hurt almost as much as a bird pecking me. It's just embarrassing. It eventually gets a very cool evolution that I personally also don't think has near enough attack. So again, A+ on the vibes, but I just hate to see giant snakes do work out here. Onix is reduced to a joke in the Elite Four as he appears in. Bruno sends that shit out, you're like, thanks for the free win. It ain't right. Rock number 2, Binacle. This Pokemon is either hilarious or horrendous. There's no in between. It's such a goofy-ass design that gets worse as it evolves, but its stats end up kind of decent, so I'm not that mad. Binacle laid the groundwork for Wiglet, which is another awful water type that might have been next on the chopping block if it weren't for the other ones I talked about. Thing that sticks out of a rock is a theme that's getting too much mileage if you ask me. Binacle reminds me of those videos you see on social media of the kids who have no legs that still try to do sports. You see them flopping around on the wrestling mat or reaching up all the way to swing at a baseball and carry the rest of their body to first base like a sack of potatoes. You're like, oh, he thinks his opponents are trying. How do you wrestle that kid? He comes pre-pinned. The match starts and the ref's already counting. Anyway, that's Binacle. Rock number 1, Probopass. The mustache is just insane. This looks like a fake mon somebody made to troll Jewish people, and then it's even got 3 mini noses to really hammer the point home. It gets sturdy. It's always the Pokemon who don't need sturdy that get sturdy. Like, I get that they get sturdy because they're sturdy, but because of how sturdy they are, they really don't need sturdy. Probopass especially because it's one of the few rock types who also has really good special defense. It's got some affinity for electric moves. I feel like it should have an ability that makes its electric moves have stab, like how Kling Clang should also have that. But yeah, this floating monstrosity is an affront to the eyes. Ghost number 3, Alolan Marowak. Oh my god, bro, get over your dead mother. Now we're out here dancing ritualistically to mourn our fallen allies. Go touch grass or something. The bone is cursed and causes unending mental and physical pain, then put that shit down, dude. Here's an idea, go take a walk. Go hang out with some alive Pokemon. One of the dex entries says the rich greenery of the Alolan region is hard on Marowak. It doesn't even belong in its own region. You're fighting through enough adversity just for existing. Drop this tribal bullshit and see a therapist. Ghost number 2, Poltegeist. So this Pokemon has 134 base special attack, which is insane, and I don't respect that. A frickin' teapot has this much power for no reason. I'm not a hater of object-based Pokemon. Chandelure is probably the closest thing to Poltegeist in terms of stats and theme, and I really like Chandelure. But I don't think Poltegeist deserves the adoration that Game Freak clearly has for it. It's like an industry plant. This thing was introduced in Gen 8, and they loved it so much they gave it a regional variant in the very next game's DLC, Poltegeist, because they can't stop shoving grass ghost types down our throats ever since X and Y. I don't like that the tea is the Pokemon, the drink, which apparently you can sip and savor, but if you drink too much, you die. I don't want to drink a Pokemon. That's somehow very different from eating one. Like, you can see a Magikarp and you're like, ooh, sear that fish with some butter on the skin. But I'm not gonna look at living, moving tea and have a gooey organism slide down my throat. Poltegeist also repopulate by pouring a little of themselves into other teacups. They reproduce asexually, like bacteria. So if I drink some, does it create a little dude down there who just gets slowly digested in dissolving agony? Or does he take over my body like a teapot and I start floating around looking for other dump sites to spread my tea seed? There's also the business with this real or fake stamp of authenticity on the teapot. Like if you look at the model and there's a sticker on the bottom, it's real, otherwise it's phony. Spoiler alert, it's all phony because this is fake lore that does not matter. If I have to turn the sprite upside down to check it, nobody cares. This isn't normal versus shiny, this is bullshit versus who gives a shit. Ghost number 1, Blacephalon. I wondered if I should include Ultra Beasts because are they even technically Pokemon if they come from another dimension or whatever, but this might be the worst one from a design standpoint. Mind you, I don't like almost any of the Ultra Beasts, so this is saying something. It's got an exploding head apparently. It learns Mind Blown at level 70 where it says the user explodes its own head but only loses half HP. Electrode could learn a thing or two from that, but just look at it. Yeah, it's another dimension. It's supposed to look weird. Doesn't mean it can't still suck. Dragon number 3, Tatsugiri. There was a lot of potential for a sushi Pokemon that I believe has been squandered. I was hoping for something like the Megamaki from Bugsnax, this huge multi-segment dragon that splits into smaller, individually sentient pieces, kind of like what they did with Phalanx, but grander. I mean, if you're gonna make a dragon-type sushi Pokemon, how are you not gonna make a dragon roll? It's a classic, easy slam dunk that just got whiffed. I wish whenever Dondozo used Order Up, he just ate Tatsugiri and swallowed it, and it never came back. This is a Pokemon better consumed than befriended. Dragon number 2, Draco whatever. The continuation of the Jigsaw fossil nonsense, Dracovish and Dracozolt both look stupid as hell, same amount of bad as the other ones. Dragon number 1, Alolan Executor. Dude, you don't get the Go-Go Gadget Extendo Neck and start calling yourself a dragon. Grass dragons have to be the least draconic dragons ever. Adding a Christmas tree doesn't make Mega Sceptile a dragon, and then you have 5 different apples. We're going bobbing for dragons at this point. Every single grass dragon is or has fruit. Let's get some balance out here, make some vegetable dragons. Can you ask that dragon over there to toss me a salad? Alolan Executor is a dumb bitch, and not in a way that amuses me. Dark number 3, Vullaby. One thing Gen 5, despite being one of my favorite generations, could have done without is the addition of all these Pokemon that are absolute donkeys that don't evolve until level 50 or higher. Vullaby evolves at level 54 to become a lesbian vulture tank, and until then, and arguably even after, it's straight up dong. You're gonna send out your level 49 Vullaby at endgame and curse your sunk cost fallacy for stringing you along this far, and what an ugly Pokemon besides. This isn't a baby, but it reads baby, so it's no wonder I hate it. Dark number 2, Impidimp. Curse of the Ugly strikes again. This little shit looks like it's gonna break all your loot in a repo game. Impidimp are 100% male, which means they're incels by default and can only reproduce by using Ditto as a fleshlight. Impidimp is the prank YouTuber that gets shot in a mall and everyone online cheers because we wish they were dead. Dark number 1, Alolan Persian. This Alolan form was so hideously god-awful they immediately wanted a redo in the next generation to do the Berserker thing instead. Meowth is one of the most iconic Pokemon in existence. Its evolution, not so much, but in the beginnings of the anime, you had Giovanni's Persian aura farming on his lap to a memorable degree. Imagine if that was this instead. They might have had to cancel the show. No villain can have Alolan Persian and be taken seriously. This looks like a cat I would have drawn in first grade and the teacher would have crumpled up the paper and set it on fire in front of me. An adult submitted this design and other adults approved it. Lunacy. Steel number 3, Hisuian Goodra. I already know Goodra is based on a snail, and with the original design, you can sweep that under the rug and just think about the adorable super strong dragon aspect. But Hisuian Goodra is just like, we're reminding you this is in fact a disgusting slimy snail. See its shell? That's where it keeps a lot of its snail fluid. It leaves snail trails everywhere it goes. If one walks by your driveway, you can no longer leave your driveway because you'll get stuck in its liquid essence. Do you like that? Do you like that this is more of a snail now? We thought you would. It's gross. Steel number 2, Durant. This reeks of filler Pokemon. They tried to give Heatmore and Durant a Zangoose and Seviper thing, and I don't respect it. To me, it doesn't matter that Durant has good offensive stats and speed and is generally the kind of Pokemon that I like to use in battle. Gen 5 introduced so many other amazing bug types and really put the bug type on the map that Durant barely registers in the public consciousness. This Pokemon gets Hustle or Swarm as its normal abilities, but if you're diligent and resourceful, you can get one with the hidden ability of Truant. You know that thing that makes you skip every other turn? The great slacking equalizer? Wow, can't wait to go the extra mile to put that shit on my Pokemon. Was this done as a joke? Cause I brought some tomatoes to throw. Steel number 1, Klefki. Kind of an obvious pick, a nod to the original discourse when Black and White first came out and everyone started freaking out about object Pokemon like they didn't grow up on balls, magnets, and sludge. Klefki, though, is truly horrendous. The fucking jingling key Pokemon. Hover it over your toddlers and give them a learning disability. It's not strong in any regard. It exists purely to have prankster priority and be as annoying as possible before it dies. I think little object fairies can work as a concept, like I don't hate Comfey, for instance, but a floating key ring that loves keys and threatens attackers by fiercely jingling its keys at them is straight out of a retard fanfiction. On to the last type of the video, fairy number 3, Carbink. So its whole thing is to be one of an entire kingdom of Diancie simps, a peasant-class Pokemon that are basically Princess Peach's Toads, but less capable. They have 150 defense and special defense, but no offense to speak of, and their moveset acts like the opposite is true. They're out here getting Moonblast, Stone Edge, Rock Slide, Power Gem. What are you gonna do with that, huh? You gonna tickle somebody? They exist to toss out Stealth Rock, and that's basically it. But I'd rather have somebody good do that. I watched the Diancie movie, and these things were just useless, hapless losers. Lemmings you could watch fall off a cliff and be like, yeah, they weren't going to amount to anything better than that. Fairy number 2, Tapu Bulu. I ranked this as the second worst legendary in my legendary Pokemon ranking 3 years ago, and while we've gotten worse since, Tapu Bulu hasn't gotten better. He has a septum piercing, which means he's unstable, and is otherwise just a hulkish sort of nondescript mishmash of creature parts. How do you have pincers and hooves, but only 2 hooves, and you have floaties on your arms, and your tail is the Liberty Bell? Fairy number 1, Enamorous. This is quite possibly the ugliest semi-human shaped Pokemon I've ever laid eyes on, and I've seen multiple colors of Jinx. This is the love Pokemon? That's like if you met Aphrodite and she was 300 pounds with zits all over her face. You'd be like, oh, that's actually Hephaestus. Sorry, Enamorous, no amount of cute charm can fix a flat chest. And what are its lips? What are those white mustache lips doing? Why do you have 4 small red horns on your forehead that look like boils? It says this Pokemon's love gives rise to the budding of fresh life across Hisui. Well, nobody loves you back, darling. Now get back in the clouds. You're hideous. And that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Watch all my other videos with 4 Snapchat filters on to disguise the pain, and I'll see you guys next time.